guys, it's Tara, the Remote Yogi, and today I want to talk about self-talk and the internal dialogue that's taken place up here all day long. Now, there's a big thunderstorm happening where I'm at in Sri Lanka, so we'll see how the sound goes. If it gets too crazy, might have to finish recording this video at another time, but fingers crossed. Alright, so let's dive into self-talk. This is one of the biggest lessons that we teach in my self-love course, and it just dives into the importance of our words. So we all know words are really powerful, right? They can really impact our emotions, they can impact our anxieties, our stresses. They can also bring lots of joy and excitement and empathy, and words invoke emotions. So we want to make sure that we're choosing our words to ourselves as well as we can. Now listen, we've got 70,000 thoughts, something around that number, happening in our brain all day long. And I'm not going to even suggest that you have the ability to control every single thought. That is ludicrous. So that was right on cue. Anyway, I think it's stopped now, and I wanted to chat about having a little bit of control in our minds. A lot of us have the same thoughts repeating all day long, and this creates an internal dialogue that might be full of confidence, it might be full of anxiety, it might be full of self-criticism. And what I see most with people who are struggling with confidence or the self-love is we tend to have a lot more self-criticism taking place in the mind all day long. I'm not suggesting that you can control every single thought you have. Of course, there's thousands of them, like I said. And unless you're like a monk who's really, really learned how to conquer your mind and slow down and all those things, I'm not suggesting that at all. What I am suggesting with this self-dialogue is that we start to witness. We start to slow down and pay attention to what's happening internally, what kind of thoughts, what kind of internal conversation we're having with ourselves. And the more we can play witness, the more we can take moments of realizing that, hey, this thought's not very kind. Let me pause and redirect. And we slowly start to do that more and more often. It becomes a habit, and we start to have a bit more control over our mind. So we might not be able to control every thought, but we have a lot of capabilities in our wheelhouse that we aren't taking advantage of. Just real fast, I want to make a note here for one of the limiting beliefs or the lies we tell ourselves about this critical voice in our head. I've had a lot of my clients and even just friends tell me that they have to be self-critical. They have to have this kind of drill sergeant in their mind, or else they won't get anything done, right? We've got this belief that we've got to push ourselves with like an aggressive language about why we suck and how we need to be better and how we should be doing all these things. And it can be this like nasty voice we have inside of us. And so for those who think this, who think that you have to be hard on yourself in order to grow, there's a lot of research backing the fact that calling somebody out on all the things that they're doing wrong is much less effective than calling people out on all the things that they're doing right. So when we can switch that dialogue, when you can say, hey, good job for waking up early this morning, instead of on the days when you woke up late, being like, oh, you're such a terrible human because you slept in today. What's wrong with you? You need to do better. When we can congratulate ourselves for when we're doing things right, we're going to have more enthusiasm to keep showing up that way. So again, get that out of your head. You don't have to be hard on yourself in order to grow. You don't have to be a drill sergeant in order to move forward with your fitness or your habits or anything like that. The more compassion you can show yourself, the more enthusiasm you're going to have to take care of yourself and to change for the better. Okay, so how do we change our self-talk for the better? I already mentioned this before, but it's really just about playing witness and noticing that when you're starting to say things that are negative about yourself, or you're starting to complain and things like that, just noticing and redirecting. So I've got this really fun thing that I do with my friends where when one of us says something negative about ourselves, so one of us will say sparkle. And sparkle is just a quick reminder that, hey, you just said something negative, you need to replace it with something positive. So if I just said, oh, that was such a dumb thing I just did, my friend would say sparkle, and I would have to give myself a compliment. I'd have to say, but I look really good in these jeans today, or whatever it is. I switch it up. So I want this to be a practice that you do for yourself. You can use the word sparkle. You can use any other word that, brings joy. I like the word sparkle because it makes me smile when I say it. So I've gotten this pattern because I used to be really, really self-critical. Everything I did was wrong. I wasn't doing anything good enough. I was too much of everything at the same time. And it was just this internal dialogue that played in my head all day long. Now, the more I practiced things like mindfulness and meditation and yoga, I was able to slow down enough to play witness. And when I was able to witness these thoughts, I could pause enough to say, hey, that wasn't really nice. Let me pause and redirect to something positive. Let me sparkle and turn on the light. Cool? So this is something that takes time, and it's about, not beating ourselves up throughout the process. So we might find that we're on this long loop of nasty negative thoughts, and when we notice it, we feel bad because it took us so long to notice. That's okay. Brush it off, come back to something positive, or come back to 10 positive things if you feel like you were on the tirade for too long. And my last tip with changing our self-talk is really being able to change the way you speak to yourself. So for some of us, talking to ourselves like we're a best friend or a lover can be a nice way to change things up. Something that really worked for me, because I really hope to be a wonderful mother one day, I decided a while back that I was going to change the way I talk to myself, especially when I was being super critical. I was going to pause and speak to myself as if I was a child, right? Speak to myself as if I was my own daughter saying, hey, that was harsh. Let's bring it back. Let's be nice. Let me tell you all the ways that you're doing awesome, sweetheart, whatever, like you're doing great. And for me, that language really resonated because I could picture myself speaking to my daughter instead of speaking to myself, and it was much more soothing. Now, again, for you, it might feel like you need to speak like you're speaking to your own sister, or that you're speaking to a best friend or lover, like I said, but your tone will change so much when we can switch that to speaking to somebody else that we love, especially while we're still trying to build this self-love muscle and create a lot more confidence within ourselves. Sound good? Hope to talk to you guys soon and that you're having a great week.